after, so we'll go ahead and get started. I'm going to record this, and then that way we can just post it up to YouTube. So if there are any board members that missed it, you can share it with them. For those of you that I didn't get to meet yesterday, my name's Ben Muldrow. I'm with Arnett Muldrow and Associates, and I'm here doing a branding tech visit that's supplied through Main Street, Wisconsin Main Street. Never get the order right. Wisconsin Main Street for Main Street of Menomonie. So, yeah. So what I want to do, I want to jump through. I feel like I've got a pretty decent amount to share with you. I'm pretty excited about it. I think we had a good day yesterday talking about the organization, talking about some of the core fundamentals of branding and what we needed here. It was kind of interesting. We talked yesterday a good bit about this difference between the organizational identity and the downtown as a place. And then right as we were leaving, Derek gives me his business card. And on the business card, it has a downtown logo with Heartbeat of the City on it. I'm very, very sad to tell you that you don't ever have to use Heartbeat of the City again, ever. So I think the nice thing was the understanding and kind of the fundamental knowledge of the different tools that you need in your toolbox are there. We just want to make sure that we're hammering that home. The first thing that I always like to do is I like to look at some of the different identities that exist in the community. So I think you probably all recognize the city seal with the Seattle skyline like we talked about. We've got the Main Street, which again, typical response to what a Main Street logo looks like. Doesn't mean it's good nor bad, but it definitely doesn't say anything about your organization per se. And then when you look at this logo, and this logo, everyone is taking the same idea. And when we talk about that confusion between the Main Street organization being thought of as maybe being the city, sometimes that's good and sometimes that's bad, but our logos don't do us any help in creating separation there. I mean, they would lead one to believe that the two are very closely connected. This was interesting, 30th anniversary logo for the public library. Probably one of the first times that I've ever seen a public library logo that it's like, all right, sweet, you can keep that. That works well. Love what's going on here. Was this new with the new building? Yeah, fantastic. I think that the co-op and the way the co-op is using graphic identity is a really good example. Their quarterly magazine called Morsel, where they take that signature M and put it in, like, just good stuff, really good stuff going on there. In addition to that, one of the things that I was kind of drawn to was the Explore Menomonie website. Of all the websites out there, it and the framework of the Main Street website were the two that were most obvious that they had attention paid to them recently. I liked what was going on here. This is it took me a while to figure out what this is. This is a typeface called Ranger. Ranger is available in 4 different types, standard and italic, both with or without shadows. And the shadows are kind of funny because the shadows are actually wavy lines, almost reminiscent of water of sorts. So it was kind of neat. I liked the way that it felt when it was small. I thought it looked good on the website. And the other thing that I had to realize was the role that this Explore Menomonie website plays is the role of telling the destination story. So if there was anywhere that made sense for us to tie into to try to create some sort of energy and synergy between the two, it would be there because we're trying to craft this destination brand for downtown. So I used that as a base, and from there we kind of build the brand elements. First thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to select some colors, and we talked a little bit about colors yesterday. We've got the blue as the base. We've got that blue that has been the organizational color for a long time. Stout's color. The cities used it. We wanted to make sure that we selected one that could be ours, that could be consistent, and that we would be able to use over and over again. We also heard about the, burgundy and gold or maroon and gold? Is it burgundy? Or is it maroon? It's maroon and gold. So we knew that what we wanted to do, we wanted to have enough colors to have some vibrancy, when we wanted to have some cool color combinations, but we also wanted to kind of cross the board. So these are the 6 that I picked, essentially a blue, a green, and a red with 2 different tonal qualities. It does not look the same on the projector, so I think it's always fair to kind of share you. Oh, I just broke it. The colors themselves are brighter, more vibrant, and that's absolutely intended. We want that vibrancy. Then with the typefaces, as we talked about, that Ranger as the primary, and then I selected a secondary and an accent typeface. The secondary is called Aquatico. Aquatico is a clean sans serif, but it has it's got some signature elements. If you look at that crossbar and the A, if you look at the way the leg and the R works. The other thing that I liked how perfectly symmetrical the O's were, because if you're typing downtown, or if you're typing Menomonie, you've got some O's to deal with. So nice to have something that's got that symmetry. And then finally, I selected a script typeface as an accent. This is not exactly the same typeface as the one that is on the relatively new banners throughout the community. The ones throughout the community, I believe, use one called Brand Script. I wanted to use something that had a little bit more signature to it. This is called Actonia. It's a brand new script typeface, actually, and it's attempting to merge together some of the trends of a script with some of the trends of a sans serif. So it's got some interesting legibility where some of the others don't. You'll see how we use those 3 moving forward. But I think one of the big things that I really want everybody to understand is, as we're moving forward with the recommendations, up until this point, branding in Menomonie meant stick a clock tower on it. We want to use consistent typefaces and consistent colors as our connective tools. And then we want to leave the freedom and the latitude to use different kinds of graphics when it makes sense. So with that, the first thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to create a downtown variation that played off of what was already existing with the Explore Menomonie. I wanted it to be kind of both trendy and traditional at the same time. And we kind of talked about somewhere landing in there with the hipster lumberjack with no saw blades kind of feel. Okay, so that's where we were landing. So this is what we landed on. Okay, so we've got a couple interesting things going here. We've got a composed, kind of ornate word type on the left-hand side, where we just feature that primary typeface, downtown modifier. We're introducing a buffalo check texture that will give us a lot of opportunity for expansion. You'll see that as we go. As we look at that overall color palette, one of the cool things about this is we can adopt those different colors in different applications, and allows us to kind of change our personality based off those color combinations. So we have a 2-color, 1-color, reversed out options of each one of those. And then in addition to that, we can even go through and we have just the simplified down word types themselves. So you can have everything from extremely ornate to pretty doggone simple. And that will allow it to be scalable. And one of the things that I'll do, all of these options actually have the drop shadow on them. But when I prepare the final package, I'm going to do one more variation that does not. And that will be the one that will scale the smallest. So you have that full spectrum of the different versatility. Now, once you create that overarching organization, the destination brand, then it gives you the opportunity to look at the organization itself. And once you no longer need the organization to promote the place, you then start thinking about, okay, what do we want to do? What do we want to be? I wanted something that was vibrant, that was contemporary, And that would help us to tell the story of this 4-point approach of Main Street and the different committee structure and the way that we go about accomplishing things. So what I came up with was this. So here you can see we landed on the clean typeface for Main Street. We're still using the Ranger for Menomonie. But then with that element, creating that monogram M, created of 4 components. And then we have 4 elements, which essentially are your 4 committees. Now, I took some creative license with naming, and I want to spend a little bit of time talking about that with you because I think it makes a big difference. Economic restructuring, we talked a lot about this. Business improvement, business vitality, economic vitality. The thing is, economic development is that term. We talked about that yesterday. I think it's completely and totally fine for you to have an economic development committee. And I think calling it that makes it the easiest for folks to understand what they might be volunteering for. So that's something for you to consider. I am more than happy. If that's not what you land on, I won't judge you, I promise. If you decide, no, we're going to go with this, we're going to go with that, just let me know and I'll change the logo to be whatever name you come up with. The idea of downtown design, I think a lot of times design committee doesn't necessarily tell what you're working on, but also design committee has a lot of latitude on what their focus is going to be. I just put downtown so it would have 2 lines. There's no real thought there. Promotion. I like this idea of Menomonie Alive, Menomonie Events, whatever you want to call it. But this is the identity that you're going to use to actually draw in workforce volunteers. Okay? As an organization, you cannot lump volunteers into one pool. You are in need of 2 distinctly different kinds of volunteers. First of all, you need committee members because committees need to be made up of more than board members. Because if you're a board member and a committee member, that means that you're going to a lot of meetings already. So we need some workforce that is truly interested in one of those 4 areas of focus that help to dilute some of the responsibility that's falling directly on your board. So you're not having board burnout and board churn. But then the second thing is that workforce volunteer base, and that's where the promotion committee is the major user of the workforce volunteers, the beer tent volunteers, the garbage collector volunteers, all that kind of stuff. So those relationships are far less loyal. They're far less, like you don't have to do quite as much. You don't have to take them to breakfast the next morning kind of thing. I know, wearing the arm bomb. It's just one of those things. Like it's a different kind of relationship. Don't mix the 2 up, and make sure that you make those volunteer opportunities clearly. Like when somebody signs up for something, make sure they know what they're signing up for. But that Alive, that Menomonie Alive, the promotions, that's a certain kind of volunteer. Now org is weird with you guys. Not necessarily in a bad way, but I was trying to figure out what you should call it. I don't know you should call it org. I don't know that org does you any good in helping to explain what it is that you're doing. You probably don't want to call it policy, even though that's what you have been focusing on. But I think I landed on the word outreach because I feel like outreach does have the opportunity potentially to both cultivate volunteers from both a committee side and a workforce side. But then it also could be a realm that you could begin to cultivate fundraising and resources. There's nothing about that word that's it. I hope it simply spurs a conversation. Because again, the role that we want the name to play is making it easier for you to recruit people to help accomplish those goals. So take that, discuss it, let me know what we want it to be. Once you've got that organizational identity, you want to start implementing it through the different mediums. First thing, we've got the website. Okay, the website, A lot of great things going on with it. I like how clean it is. It's easy to use. I told you yesterday what I always like to try to do is I like to try to do a very quick 1 hour update. I want to apply a background graphic. I want to change the header, and I want to change some colors, and that's it. I had to play around with some things in my head. What graphics do I want to use? How do I want to use them? And where do I want to use them? The web domain that you have is mainstreetmenomonie.org. But that website is both promoting your downtown and your organization simultaneously. So what I finally landed on was this. There are a lot of different ways that we can do this. I think the easy thing is look at how simply applying a background graphic changes the overall personality of the site. And that's a very easy change. One of the things that's kind of cool with a change like that is you could have it on a seasonal rotation. So as you go through different seasons, you change that, and it makes the whole site look different very quickly, and therefore it keeps the site looking fresh. I felt like it was important to both acknowledge downtown Menomonie and the organization in the same place. There are a lot of different ways that you can do that, but I think that simply having these two in some sort of composition where they're related to each other and they acknowledge that they both exist and Main Street is the steward of downtown, that's what we're trying to hammer home. So hopefully, Stephen, is that enough to get the wheels going?
Yeah,
it doesn't mean that it's perfectly thought out, but in a day, I know that those are the things you want to hit.
Yeah.
Something else?
Have like high quality PNGs and stuff like
Absolutely.
that.
Everything, all the logos will be prepped out in 5 different file formats. So you'll get vectors and you'll get high-res PNGs. And all the PNGs will be saved without backgrounds, all that kind of stuff. So you'll get all the resources you need. Next thing that we talked about yesterday, and this is just a very, very simple tool funded by bid. This would be the kind of thing that would literally show up in the bottom left corner of a poster. This is never going to be big. It's never going to be anything that, nobody's making t-shirts with this on it, but it's just your way to say, we know you pay extra taxes, and this is what you get for it. Does that make sense? It would. That's the projector, yeah. It's having second thoughts about.
That's your reaction.
Yeah. All right, so from here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a series of logo extension into the events. So the slides will have the current logo and the proposed logo. Current logo is a very loosely used term because on virtually every example, it was amazing how many different options and variations I could find of the same entity or same thing. So the first one is Farmers Market. Farmers Market was all over the place. They have one thing on their Facebook page as their profile pic, and then they have a different logo. I know this is not something that you all run, but I wanted to show how relatively easily by adopting the colors and the typeface, you can roll this in. The other thing that I couldn't get my hands on quickly enough, but I put this on here so you could get my point. The new farmers market structure is going to be a very signature structure. I don't think that you want a profile of a barn shed. I think that what would be perfect on this logo is that truss structure of that. So that was more of a placeholder. If you guys can get me a sketch of what that's supposed to look like, I'll create the appropriate graphic. But I just I needed to file it away in my head so I remembered what I was talking about. But then all of a sudden the logo of the thing connects with the venue in which it's going. So it kind of gives us an opportunity with the new farmers market shed going up to suggest to them that they alter their logo to celebrate their new venue. And, we can kind of use it as a way of, hey, you should be celebrating this thing, and here's a way you can do it. Winter Days. Winter Days is another one that I found several different logos. One Winter Days logo had a sunshine on it.
We're optimistic.
On the parade application. Is that right? So like it's like winter days, and then there's like snow running down a letter, and then there's a great big sunshine, which I thought that was pretty cool. But again, winter days is kind of a fun and different. I want you guys to have fun. Okay, I want you to have fun, and I want your events to look fun. So, who doesn't love a Christmas sweater? You know, so this is just kind of showing how you could take that, you could roll it in. One of the things y'all asked about yesterday were event posters. So I went ahead and designed what a event poster would look like. I've pulled a sweater typeface. So you now all will be the owner of a sweater typeface, so you can type whatever you want in sweater threads. So, but again, like, can you imagine making T-shirts that look like Christmas sweaters? People would buy those, and they would wear them. They wouldn't just wash their cars in them. They'd like legitimately wear them. Trick or treat. Again, with a lot of these, I'm not actually saying that the old logos are bad, but they're not in a system that's reinforcing one another. Here, I'm showing you how you can take that buffalo check and you can change, feel free to change the colors. The buffalo check is not actually part of the logo on this one. It's just a graphic component with it, more of a word type. This next one, whew. Okay, so the community cookout food festival. Again, you had the community cookout food festival barn and silo that was on the Facebook page and on the website. But then when you look at photos from the event, there were these posters, and I don't know who was responsible for them, that had a great big fork with a hot dog on it, and it said cookout on the hot dog, but it said oldie towny Menomonie. Oh, is it? It's like complete oldie towny. Is that an antique store? Oh yeah, well, it's oldie towny where I come from, because yeah, those extraneous E's don't do anything to make something more historic. I was confused about the whole cookout thing. So what I did, again, to me, this is where that buffalo check becomes so versatile. I didn't think it was going to, but simply making it red on white, and now all of a sudden it's picnic. You know, that kind of thing is pretty cool. I'm still confused about this event, because I understand that you eat at it. I understand that there's a clown named Fritter. And I understand that there are wiener dog races. I personally, as a longtime owner of dachshunds, love the idea of wiener dog races, but I'm still confused how these get clustered together. I'm not.
The fire hydrant or the fire truck.
Is, what?
It's all the fun in one.
Well, and then it was like, okay, so then I started getting crazy and creative, and I was like, well, you know, you never know what you're gonna do. So, how cool would it be to have a Wiener Dog Grand Prix and Gourmet Hot Dog Festival, and you could be the home of the Wisconsin, what is it called? Wisconsin Encased Meats Championship. So I did this for fun, partially because I like the idea of a wiener dog mascot for anything. I wanted to show you that if done right, your buffalo check could kind of look like a checkered flag of a race. And I just wanted to say Wiener Dog Grand Prix out loud. But again, you know, think about all the opportunities. An event, there can be simultaneous things that happen on the same day, and don't ever miss out on the opportunity to have multiple brands coinciding with one another, especially if there's a merchandising opportunity with that. Like, feel free. It's not a lack of focus by having multiple branded things going on simultaneously. Does that make sense? The Flag Day, you know, again, just fun stuff, making it easy. Ladies' Night Out. So, all right. So here's what you've got. You've got Ladies' Night Out. Happens 3 times a year. One time it's Ladies' Night Out. One time it's Witches' Night Out. And one time it's Chicks' Night Out. I'm not sure what the Chicks' Night Out is. So it's around Easter. Gotcha. Here's what our recommendation is. There was some talk about the event. There were maybe some of the merchants are questioning whether the focus only on women is the way to do it and that kind of stuff. So Darren and I talked a lot about this earlier today, and I think that we have a recommendation that kind of makes sense. What you have is you have an event that has set a stage for expansion. And we want to use this foundation to be the foundation of your extended hours campaign. So what we're recommending is that you essentially take what you've done and you blow it out into the Thursday Night Out program. Thursday Night Out, you focus in on, let's say, the 3rd Thursday of every month. So now you expand it in year 1 from 3 nights. Maybe you don't want to expand it all the way to 12. Maybe you expand it to 6. And then in year 2, you expand it to 12. Like I understand easing into things. But once you create this platform of Thursday Night Out, you can still do Witches' Night Out. You can expand it out and you can do Families' Night Out. You leading into the Christmas season, you can do Elves' Night Out. Like, have fun with it. Take it and run with it. You know what I mean? It gives you a platform for you now to have an open late campaign, but something that also is kind of ever changing and has the ability to connect with multiple audiences. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Does that scare anybody? Okay. Do you think that by introducing an idea like that, would that help to alleviate some of the concern and or complaints that you feel like you might be hearing from the merchants that participate? By showing how the program could expand and then connect with multiple targets.
So. We kind of played around with it last year too, because we did like a procrastinators night out like right before Christmas. That
Yeah.
Was,
Perfect.
Vendor specifics.
Perfect.
I feel like we've already gone down that road.
Okay. One of the things that I like, and I'm going to throw this out because it's something that we did back home and I liked it. We had a ladies' night out type event that was several weeks before Black Friday and Shop Small Saturday. And the whole purpose of the event was for females to make wish lists with the stores, and then subsequently we had the complementary component to the event, which was a men's night where they could go out, they could buy stuff off the wish list, and then afterwards they could detox at the local bar. Yeah. So just be really creative with it. But I think that expanding that out to creating a more consistent platform, I think could be good for you guys. You talked about hashtag. I couldn't figure out exactly what it should say, but I want the hashtag to be made out of your plaid. So do whatever you want to do there. So yeah, there you go. Hashtag back in the corner. Yeah, she works for us. Yeah, she's on the team. As far as banners go, your downtown district is pretty easy to understand. The street that goes along the lake is a little funny. Not real bad, but it's a little funny. It's has a very different feel. The personality of the street kind of tells you that you don't want to be in downtown. You want to get through downtown, and I know that's how people use it as well. But all in all, I don't feel from a strategy standpoint that there are any big challenges that you need to get through. But the thing that I will say is when you are in your downtown, except for on Main Street, there are so many holes in the pattern that you don't always get the feeling of density and continuity. And I think that you can use street banners to help gloss over some of the holes in your smile, as they say. So from a design standpoint on street banners, I just went very simple, using color. You have to remember, most of the time when people design banners, they design them starting with a white computer screen instead of starting with a photo of the place that the banner's going up. So they over-design the banners. You want something that's very, it's got to almost be calming and then create a rhythm or a continuity. So I did 2 different versions. There is no wrong or right. I did one that was just the plaid options. I did one that was just solid colors with the logo on it. But what this will do, this is not in the place of event banners. It's definitely not in place of the attractive banners that Explore Menomonie and the Chamber and you guys did as a partnership. Those are really, really good looking banners. They're not really banners that are very easily digested while driving. So maybe they're more appropriate in more of a pedestrian oriented zone. But you can use those banners to help create continuity and help people understand. You can do this a lot of different ways. You could do one color all the way down one side of the street, another color down the other. You can do whole blocks with solid color, and then you turn and another color. I would not say that it makes sense to do blue, then green, then red, blue, green, red. That's not getting you anything by alternating it like that. So be strategic in your placement. Talked about parking. So I wanted to share a couple things with you that I think are kind of cool. We talked about the lot right behind the building, and Stephen is right behind the building, that direction. And the thing that there's some really cool things happening with parking signage. That's the weirdest statement that anybody would ever say out loud. The cool things happening with parking signage, but there's a lot of thought that's been going into this lately. And has anybody seen these signs before? If you've ever seen the text-based alternatives to these signs, they're typically a series of 3 different panels on a single sign that tell you all the ways you can't park. But what they've started to do is they've started to use graphic representation of when parking is allowed or when it's not allowed. You can use the same representation to be able to show different kinds of parking, different durations of parking. So you can actually have a space now with a single sign that is a 2-hour space during the day, or a hour space at lunch and 4 hours the rest of the day, or 10 hours on the weekend. So with a single sign, you can now make your spaces do a lot more work and perform the functions that your downtown needs. So it breaks you away from the simple idea that the space that I'm currently illegally parked at only wants me there for 45 minutes. So these are really starting to gain traction. Some major cities have started to explore these. New York City has been revamping the way that their parking signage works. So I think it's something that's kind of cool that's coming around. Now, in addition to that, when we talk about the overall brand and why is this important at all, we want to avoid that sick to the stomach feeling of coming into a community, not having change, and therefore feeling unwelcome. It is amazing how not having 50 cents can make someone feel like we don't want them here. So we had a situation, we were working with State College, Pennsylvania. Of course, that's where Penn State is, small community, college town, and they had parking issues. But one of the things that we did was we actually got their city to adopt this. It was called an overtime ticket. So the police officers were able to put the license tag in and find out whether the license had ever gotten a ticket before. And if it was a first-time offender or if it was an out-of-state tag, they would simply stick this on the windshield instead of a ticket. And it simply says, hey, this is just a courtesy notice. And just so you know, we have parking garages that you could park at and stay all day long. So it gives them an alternative. We created some signs there. There's nowhere to park downtown except for the 2,037 spaces. You know, sometimes you have to hit the things that people always say with the reality. But I will say one of the biggest, most impactful things that can happen here in Menomonie is an adoption of a mobile-based payment system. If you can adopt a Passport or a Park Mobile platform, it will go a long way. I am becoming more and more convinced each day that people care far less about whether they pay or not and far more about removing that uncomfortable feeling of not having the money. If you've ever driven through a toll booth and wondered whether you had that $4 to give them or not, you don't ever want that emotion in your downtown. So that's something that we can tackle. Something else that's fun, we talked a little bit about wayfinding signage. So I wanted to throw something out to you all. Has anybody seen the Walk Your City? Walk Your City, there's a website, walkyourcity.org. This was started as a guerrilla wayfinding program in Raleigh, North Carolina. A master's student went out in the middle of the night and put these signs up all over Raleigh. And everything is in a pedestrian or bicycle orientation, and it's in a minute instead of mileage breakdown. You can go on their website and you can build all of the signs on their website. You can design them. You can set your different points. You can map them on the website where you want the sign and where the destination is, and it will figure out the time. Then you can order the signs straight from the site. They'll send them to you. They're printed on the plastic corrugated with big, thick plastic wire ties. So they are literally temporarily permanent signage. This is a really great way for you to get things out in the community that maybe this is a way that you don't ever have to say, we don't love some of the things that might have been done or the scale of it or anything like this. It's just filling a different gap. Especially when you have a campus in your downtown, the pedestrian orientation and the bike orientation goes a long way. So this could be a really cool project. And if you can get somebody to seed maybe, I would say a community like this, for the cost of 2 permanent wayfinding signs, you could probably sign the entire community with a robust guerrilla signage system. So I definitely urge you to take a look at that. And then the last thing that I wanted to share, and it was something that I think both Darren and I felt, was you have a community where you need to have elements that motivate the visitor and the local to dig a little bit deeper. We heard from Stephen yesterday that Stout is known for industrial design. It's known for arts. You've got an art supply at your 100% intersection. You know, these are not necessarily apparent in the public space. As you drive through the community, you don't necessarily see that artistic and design orientation make its way into the public realm. One of the coolest places where those can manifest is in a community's alleyways. So what I want to introduce is the idea of what we call Rally Around the Alley. And it's a project where you can pick one alley, you can get a group of kind of guerrilla designers, and you know, they call them tactile urbanists now, which is kind of a silly name, but you can take any space and you can go through and you can design it however you want. heard a great story in Oskaloosa, Iowa, where 6 women got together and they called themselves the Alley Cats, and they decided that they were going to redo this alley, and they did an amazing job. I've got some examples. This is Gulfport, Mississippi, and this literally was the alley where all of the downtown's restaurants' dumpsters were. And they decided they were going to call it Fishbone Alley. It probably is, I mean, if you can see, like, that right there is probably about 125 yards. And it's the other street. So it's a super small space. They went through, they put down brick pavers, they put up the string lights and created this canopy. They went through and did just like you did, painted electrical boxes, really nice attention to detail, funny, quirky things, just slap a mum, you throw a flower in there. Again, focusing on different electrical boxes, murals in little spaces. One of the coolest things that came out of this, and actually this right here is a connector between 2 buildings. The second phase of this, they're going to actually install a movie screen there, so they'll be able to do movies in the alley. And I came up with this idea as we were working on this, where I said, you know what? We need to have an event in the alley, and we need to call it the world's smallest festival. And literally all activities are confined just to the alley. And they're planning it now. It's awesome. They're really close to New Orleans, so they're doing the world's smallest jazz parade, and I think they're having 2 people, walk through the parade, and just doing some really cool things. But alleys, there is no standard. There's nothing that people expect for an alley to perform. So alleys are actually a lot more fun to dig into than streetscapes are. There are all these standards, and people all think they're experts on streetscapes, and the moment you do something, you'll have an expert come by or like, well, why'd you put that there? Why'd you use that material? Why'd you use stamped concrete instead? Don't you know you've got snow plowing? Don't you know what salt does to stamped concrete? All that stuff. Nobody's an expert of alleys. Nobody's spent that much time in an alley. So it's a great way to have a good win and be able to create this notion of people kind of digging deeper and kind of exploring their community a little more. Does that make sense? All right, well, that's what I was able to do since yesterday. Here's some things on my list that I just didn't get to design. I'm going to design a new business card, letterhead, and envelope. I did design them, and then Illustrator crashed, so that made me angry, so I didn't go back and do it. I know what they're going to look like. And then I also I'm going to look at brick and mortar. I'm going to design a cover for a downtown brochure. I'm going to design a template for table tents, and I'm going to design a PowerPoint template for the organization. So when the organization makes reports to city council and to other community organizations, everything is nice and branded. Sound good? All right, so now it's your turn. I've been talking for almost 50 minutes. What are your thoughts? Did the recommendations make sense? Do you like the direction that it's going? Is there anything that was glaringly missing or anything that we need to go back and think about?
With the implementation of design things,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so like, obviously Derek has a certain set of skills,
Mm-hmm.
which is, history and stuff like that. Awesome things that I don't know anything about.
Mm-hmm.
With your experience in dealing with main streets in general, is there usually a person that's like the point person for promotional material that's integrating this kind of stuff, or do you usually educate the director to those things?
Well, that is a great and loaded question. When you get hired as a Main Street manager, you are strangely expected to have an expert level of skill in such a wide variety of realms that it's comical. So communities that have the resources to be able to have a local design partner who can take this branding package and run with it are typically the ones that get the most out of the resources. Now, we intend with everything that we create, we intend for it to be able to be usable with a low level of design knowledge, because a lot of managers don't have the resources to hire a designer and don't have the background in design, so they gotta stumble through it themselves. Our hope is, by showing a comprehensive system and the power of having things that feel connected, we can start to increase the value in design so that the organization understands that it is an investment that's worth it, because it actually, it's a relatively small investment for the impact that it creates. So I always urge that an organization attempt to find a local design partner or partners that understand the goal, understand. And I will say, one of the really good tests is if they are irritated at the idea of adopting a pre-designed brand system and implementing it, they're not the ones you want to work with. There are some designers out there who feel that it is necessary for them to make their mark and for it to be theirs. As you can see with this, I literally adopted something that was already in play, deconstructed it into its elementary components, and built it back up into an expandable system. So, like, there's no, I want it to work. You know, I want it to be something that you can easily say, hey, we came up with a new event. Well, let's not spend 6 months designing a logo on it. We should be able to pump this out, you know. But yeah, if you can team up with local talent, it always is good.
And that's in my own experience, and then that in Wisconsin, it's usually a great opportunity to engage somebody from outside the organization and say, you know, as long as you are respectful about what the scope of work is going to be, and everybody has a clear understanding that, hey, we need you this, and yeah, we won't give you 24-hour turnaround notice. You know, we'll understand what do you need, how many weeks lead time, we'll make sure you have it there. And you know, I know myself, we worked with a local graphic design firm who did everything pro bono for us. And you know, but it was be respectful of our time and don't wait till the last possible moment to hand it to us and say we need something turned around.
And if you do ever have a job that pays, please, for the love of God, hire them. You know, I mean, that's, I was doing pro bono work for an organization that I was involved in, and I didn't want to be doing design work. I wanted to be, it was a state park organization. I wanted to be building trails, but they needed design work. So I was doing design work. I was doing all their promotion stuff for free. And then all of a sudden they got a grant to design a logo for a bike trail, and they paid somebody else $750 to design a logo, like without me knowing. And it's like, it just made me a little less wanting to donate my time anymore, you know. So you know, I think that is definitely part of it. Is you know, take those services, understanding they're really giving you something, and then if there is the opportunity to compensate, always give them that courtesy. So
yeah, because with that said, I mean, the designer we worked with, when we had our big event that actually we had a budget for, he got paid for all his design work for that. That wasn't the pro bono stuff.
Yep.
It was the little stuff that he fed to us throughout the year.
Thank you.
I was a little skeptical about the buffalo thing, but when you showed it in the elements, it really.
Well, and I will say, what was really funny, and maybe it was just being in Raw Deal this morning compared to anywhere else, but it's like, everybody has on plaid. Like, like really, like, man, everybody that walked into Raw Deal today is reconfirming my thoughts. It was pretty awesome. So, but, you know, I will say, and I'm glad that you said that, because first of all, I've never used Buffalo Check in a brand before. This is definitely a first for me. You can absolutely use it too much, and you can try to force it too much. I love the idea of being able to take it and make it look like a picnic tablecloth, like little things like that. I firmly believe that anytime you have a design element that people think they understand, and then you're able to show it to them in a way that is different, and they see the cleverness of duality, an affinity grows with that design element. So use it sparingly, but use it in a way that works. And I think over time you'll find that people don't scrutinize it. If you came out and was like, yeah, we saw this branding expert, he wants our brand to be plaid, then I would probably shoot him, because that sounds really, really stupid. But I think that it's an element that if used in a classy way, it can be something that's kind of cool and creates an interesting flavor for you. Other thoughts or questions?
I really like that you gave each of the committees kind of a brand or whatever you call it, if you will.
Yeah.
It seemed like a really cool idea.
Great.
I like how you were talking yesterday about, having a downtown economic development go-to or office.
Right.
You mentioned that. That was a cool idea.
Cool.
Yo, I am so on your level. And just the way it sounds.
I have never had that circumstance before. And I've easily developed 300, if not more, Main Street logos. And I have never had one that said Main Street of. If you told me today that you were comfortable with the idea of a logo that did not have it, and anytime you had a contract, you had DBA in your contract, I would make that change in a heartbeat, because it's funny. It's funny and slightly awkward. But I have never found. I think a lot of times people get overly concerned about the official name of the organization and what goes on your business card. I think it's okay for you to leave the of out. That's your call. Y'all can just let me know. I will gladly delete those letters and readjust as needed.
And I know, just another community that has gone through this, Eagle River, they've been a Main Street program now for 15 years, and it's always been Eagle River Revitalization Partnership. That's what they've gone on. They've never had the Main Street. This year, they have done a DBA, Eagle River Main Street. Just all of a sudden, it just doesn't make sense anymore to do it. This is who we are. This is what we follow. This is what we're changing to. So, they didn't miss a beat on anything.
Yeah.
It just makes my mouth hurt. It's outside and short, I'm like Main Street Menomonie,